Have you ever noticed that even when the world around you grows quiet, your heart still makes noise? You sit in a cafe, conversations overlap, machines hum, phones buzz, then suddenly everything pauses. For a moment silence fills the air, yet inside restlessness remains. Silence outside does not always mean silence within. You try to find calm. Meditation apps, calming playlists, long walks through open spaces. For a while they help, but soon the mind fills again. To-do lists, regrets, secret fears. Peace slips away like sand through your fingers. Inside, an invisible weight presses against your chest. Thoughts scatter. Emotions tangle. Ibn Arabi once described this as emotional clutter. Resentments, unmet desires, and unexamined pain that crowd awareness. You begin to realize that silence feels distant, not because the world is loud, but because the mind is crowded. Then across centuries, a voice seems to whisper, "The silence you seek is not the absence of sound, but the presence of the real." You pause. The question forms, what truly changes in silence? Is it the world around you, or is it you who changes? Shams Tabriz taught that silence is not emptiness. It is a doorway. Ibn Arabi expanded that doorway into stages, each a deeper unveiling of truth. 4 openings appear to the one who listens. The first is silence as unveiling. Cash. In ordinary noise, you rush from moment to moment, defending, comparing, proving. But when silence arrives, even briefly, the masks begin to loosen. The noise that once defined you falls away, and what is left is simple awareness. You do not create this silence, you notice it. It was always present beneath the movement. The second door is silence as vision, isuluk. When noise fades, perception sharpens. You begin to see not just what appears, but the awareness that allows appearance. You recognize that what you call chaos is often only the echo of your own resistance. Ibn Arabi's followers faced betrayal, exile, and hardship, yet they spoke of silence not as escape, but as survival. In silence, they saw what remained after everything else collapsed. The unshaken ground of being. The third door is silence as presence. It is not withdrawal from life, but deeper entry into it. Stillness within movement, clarity within action. Like a wheel whose center never turns, you remain stable even as circumstances shift. The realized person, the insan al-kamil, acts in the world without being caught by it. Speaking or silent, active or still. Peace does not depend on condition. The final door is silence as recognition. Ibn Arabi said every soul is a book written by the real, and silence is how you learn to read it. When the mind quiets, life becomes legible. Each event, joy or pain, becomes a line in a single text. You no longer search for meaning. You read it as it unfolds. Silence, then, is not about leaving life. It is about entering it more completely. But how can you live this in the noise of everyday existence? Begin with small moments. In a meeting when tension rises, notice the urge to react. Wait. That pause, that single instant before speech, is silence entering. It does not withdraw you. It steadies you. In that gap, awareness replaces impulse, or when someone betrays you. The first impulse is anger, defense, justification. But silence opens a different space. Inside that space, pain reveals wisdom. You begin to see, even loss is a mirror, showing what still clings to identity. One of Ibn Arabi's own students once lived this lesson. Betrayed and exiled, he sat alone, believing his life had collapsed. Yet in the long solitude, silence became his teacher. What he thought was punishment became unveiling. Every hour alone became evidence that the real had never left. In the modern world, silence functions as your inner filter. Social media amplifies emotion, news multiplies anxiety, and conversation turns reactive. Silence does not erase these sounds. It keeps your heart from drowning in them. Practice can begin simply. Morning, cache the unveiling. Sit quietly before the day begins. Let the mind speak its noise, plans, fears, thoughts. Write them down. Observe them. Each thought seen clearly loses its grip. Daytime, Isaluk, the seer's vision. In each encounter, practice listening without defense. Ask yourself, what in this moment reflects my own state? Every irritation, every admiration is a mirror. The ego speaks loudly. Silence hears beneath it. Evening, presence, the quiet at the center. Reflect without judgment. Offer gratitude even for what was difficult. Gratitude transforms experience into understanding. It converts noise into order. Modern science quietly affirms this. Mindfulness practices calm the brain's default mode network, the circuitry of restless self-talk. Gratitude strengthens emotional balance. Neuroscience discovers what mystics already knew. Silence does not suppress the mind. It reorganizes it. Life, said Shams, is like a field. Ego grows weeds. Silence cultivates soil. Presence allows growth. Nothing needs to be forced. When you stop disturbing the ground, peace begins to bloom by itself. When silence deepens into habit, something subtle shifts. Fear begins to loosen. Resistance softens. The heart, once restless, aligns with a harmony that was always present. You stop chasing peace. Peace begins to reveal itself. Yet Ibn Arabi reminded his students that silence is not isolation. It is participation at a higher level of awareness. One silent heart becomes medicine for others. Calm radiates. Science calls this emotional contagion. The nervous systems of people in proximity synchronize. Stillness spreads. A single quiet presence can steady an entire room. But there is a warning. Not all silence is true silence. Ego can imitate quiet. It withdraws not to see clearly but to avoid contact. That is escape. True silence is openness. It does not close the door on life. It opens it inward. The false quiet contracts, the real quiet comprehends. Shams Tabriz and Ibn Arabi both saw that silence is not an absence to be reached, but a presence to be recognized. It is not built by effort. It is revealed by understanding. Effort quiets the body. Recognition quiets the mind. As silence matures, life continues. You work, speak, plan, and respond. But something in you no longer trembles. The wound of confusion begins to heal. Not because events become perfect, but because you no longer mistake them for punishment. Every difficulty becomes instruction. Every challenge becomes correspondence from the real. You begin to see pain as guidance, not threat. Shams once said the wound is the door. When it opens, what enters is clarity. Pain shows you where illusion still hides. The moment you stop resisting, learning begins. Over time, silence becomes your natural language. You may still speak, but your words arise from a different depth. Measured, simple, accurate. Conversation becomes transmission, not performance. Relationships change. Listening replaces reaction. The transformation is not dramatic. It is precise. The mind stops rehearsing stories. The heart stops negotiating outcomes. Awareness becomes content to witness what unfolds. This is not indifference. It is intimacy with reality. Silence, fully understood, is not fragile. It exists even in noise. A city street, a crowded meeting, a crisis. The outer world moves, yet within something remains unshaken. That stillness is not escape from movement. It is the ground that makes movement possible. When this realization stabilizes, the boundaries between meditation and action dissolve. Washing dishes, answering messages, solving problems. Each act becomes part of the same stillness. Life no longer alternates between chaos and calm. It becomes one continuous field of awareness, and something remarkable follows. Peace no longer depends on agreement. You do not require others to understand, nor events to favor you. Peace becomes independent of circumstance because it no longer competes with it. Science finds echoes of this truth. Studies in neuroplasticity show that attention reshapes the brain's structure. Presence literally rewires perception. Emotional contagion demonstrates how one calm mind can lower collective tension. What the mystics intuited through direct awareness, science now measures with instruments. Silence is contagious, coherence is measurable, stillness changes systems. So silence is not emptiness. It is intelligence organizing itself. When noise dominates, perception fragments. When silence is recognized, perception unifies. You begin to live not as a seeker of peace, but as its expression. When silence becomes your way of being, fear loses its authority. The mind's constant commentary fades into background hum. You no longer fight life. You cooperate with it. Resistance used to define identity. Now clarity defines it. But Ibn Arabi's insight goes further. Silence is not for you alone. Each unveiled heart contributes to the coherence of the whole. Life is an orchestra, and your silence is a note that allows the rest to harmonize. You also begin to understand balance. Silence is not permanent withdrawal. Words have their place, action their timing. The silence within you shapes the quality of both. Speech born from silence carries precision. Action guided by stillness carries grace. In this maturity, even pain speaks differently. Suffering once felt like violation. Now it feels like correction. You read events instead of resisting them. Life becomes legible. The wound that once defined you becomes memory, not identity. This is what both Ibn Arabi and